mystery shoppers. They lurk amongst us at fast food places, restaurants, retail establishments, car dealerships, maybe even the county morgue. You never really know if the person next to you is a customer or if they're actually there just to watch. I was a mystery shopper once, and tonight I'm gonna spill the beans. Hey, so I think we all been there. You get to a point where, you got a job, you're happy with it, but you just wish you had a little extra money. And I was in that situation in about 2004-ish. And, had a job I liked, but I just wish I had a little bit more money. And somebody approached me and said that they were doing some mystery shopping for McDonald's. And before I get too far, I'm going to say I don't think that I'm violating anything talking about this, and I'm definitely not saying anything bad about anybody. I don't remember signing like an NDA. So, and also, I mean, look, it's over 20 years ago. I'm sure standards have changed, and maybe they don't even use this process anymore. If I'm wrong and I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do, this video will quietly disappear. But anyway, so somebody approached me and said they were doing mystery shopping for McDonald's and sent me this website. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. I looked at it, it looked legit, and it seemed pretty simple. It was like, basically you go there, you evaluate people, you go home and you fill out a form, and they will reimburse you for the food, and they will pay you somewhere between $8 and $12 for going. Depending on how out of the way the place is. If it's a really easy to fill mystery shop, like if it's downtown Dallas and there's a ton of people that live around there, somebody's going to want it and they'll take it immediately. But if it's like way out in the boonies, it may take them weeks to find somebody to do it. So that's when it'll pay more. So I looked into it and I said, you know what, I'll do this once and I'll see how it works out. And maybe if it works out, I'll do it more. So I go to the website and I have to basically do about 2 hours of training, learning kind of their standards and what's important to them. It's all real basic stuff, but you pretty much had to ace the test to be approved. And I passed that, and then I picked a McDonald's in Fort Worth to go to. And, as a chronic corner cutter, I started looking for, hey, what's the stuff that I have to actually get right on this? Things you can't fake your way through. Things they wanted to know, like, what's the name of the person who took your order? What's the name of the person you picked up the order from? What time did you get there? What time did you leave? I mean, that stuff's on the receipts, but the time I say things take has to line up with the times on the receipts. So I'm going to get stuff like that right. When it comes to things like, was the food good? Was the food warm? Did they get your order right? Things like that, you can fake your way through that. And so all I wanted to do is make sure I got the important details, write them down in a little notepad next to me. Because if you get any of these details wrong, and they can reject you and not reimburse you. So I want to make sure and get it right. So I go up to this drive-thru, and the deal was, go to the drive-thru and order a value meal. In most cases, they would say which value meal to get. Like, get the quarter pounder meal and get whatever drink you want. Don't supersize it. And then pull over into the parking lot. Try the food or eat the food. I ate the food. And wait a minimum of 5 minutes, but less than 15 minutes, and then walk into the restaurant and order a different value meal. Don't supersize it, and, get everybody's name and all that stuff. And, and like, make sure and don't jot anything down in front of people. Once again, that's one of those things that they can't prove. So, it's kind of hearsay stuff, my word, whatever. So I don't care if I get that part right or not, but, I took it seriously enough where I didn't drop things down in front of people. And, I did it. And when I finished, I went home, scanned the receipts, filled out a form. It took me like five minutes. And a couple of weeks later, I got reimbursed for it. And I was like, you know what? I may do this again. Okay, so once I saw that this was legit, it was on. And I started going to a few of these a week. And I started to kind of plan my meals around it. I could go there, get 2 extra value meals. One of them I would eat. One of them I would save for dinner or lunch the next day. And I started to like stack these up. And sometimes I would do 2 in a day. And sometimes these checks I would get at the end of the week were over $100, which is something. So I was excited about this, and it was interesting to look at the way the questionnaires would change from store to store. So some of them would say, hey, buy an extra value meal and just make sure and buy a different one when you go inside. Other ones would be like, get the double quarter pounder meal and get Diet Dr. Pepper or something, like really specific. And so I would always kind of try to read between the lines on that. Like, did that mean that they had noticed they got a lot of complaints about a certain item? One thing that I found interesting was one thing that was a pet peeve that was the biggest no-no that I never thought of before then was they always had on the questionnaire, did the person that had your food hold the bag out the window before you got there? Like, for some reason, that was like fireable offense. Like, that really, really offended their management. I never thought about that before then. To this day, if I go to a drive-through at any place and they hang the bag out the window, I'm like, no. But one thing that I figured out as I was doing these, I had good service, I had bad service, I had everything in between. I would look at this person behind the counter, and here I am, I'm like right around probably 30 years old, and I work in the computer industry. I've got some college, and like, I'm looking at this 16-year-old or this, teen mom or this single mother or whoever is behind the counter, and I'm like, could I seriously like get this person in trouble? And really the answer was no. Like, even when they were not great, I put 10 out of 10 because I was just like, I just can't do it. It seemed really shady and like really sneaky for me to go in there, and so basically I was a terrible mystery shopper. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I, over time, just kept on doing that. Great. Food was great. Everything was great. Person was great, So I kept doing that. And at some point, it seemed like I moved up to level 2. Because one day I looked up and I saw that I had more than just McDonald's available to shop at. My list of places that were available to me now included PetSmart. And so I was moving up this chain. Like, I was doing good. And I really enjoyed it. I guess, I could say, what's the worst can happen? I mean, I've seen that movie Super Size Me with Morgan Spurlock dude. I mean, his weight went nuts, his cholesterol went nuts, not to mention he's no longer with us. He died at 53 from cancer. Not saying it's related, but I don't think it's good to eat fast food all the time. And for somebody who's always had to watch my weight, it wasn't, I watched it all right. I watched it go up. This was not a healthy choice, but I did enjoy the food. So I kept doing it, and I enjoyed it a lot. So then it kind of came time for me to try something new. So I'm going to move up to level 2. So now it's time to try PetSmart. This one was a little bit different because the fee said of what they pay you said $0. And I was like, well, why would I do it? And then I looked at the fine print. They wanted you to go in and they wanted you to talk to someone and they wanted you to ask certain questions. It was a little bit more complicated than McDonald's, and I think that's why it's kind of the level 2. All these levels I'm talking about, I'm making them up, but there was clearly a hierarchy as you moved up this thing. So I looked at the PetSmart, and they basically had a list of like 6 items that you could choose from. You go in, you talk to somebody, and you choose the item that you want out of that. And whatever it is, you get to keep it. And these were all in the like $20 to $25 range. I had a dog, so I was like, sure, I could use a nice leash. I could use a harness, whatever. And they had some cat items as well, but I didn't have a cat. So I tried that out, and it went well. And so I started working PetSmart into this briefly because I kind of ran out of stuff to keep. You know, it's like, how many leashes or harnesses does one dog need? Those went well, and I got pretty good at this, where I could kind of memorize everything that I was supposed to do before I got in there. And as I did more of the PetSmart, even more McDonald's started popping up. So I was able to, you know, if I had to take a trip outside of town, I could actually plan mystery shops outside of Dallas-Fort Worth, where, you know, if I was going down to Austin for something, I could, I'm going to stop in real quick to Waco or Temple, and I'm going to do a mystery shop there. And so I had this thing down, and I don't think I ever had one of these sent back to me. So it was going really well. Then one day, as I feel like if there's a level 3, I'm getting close to it. I log in one day and I seem to be back to pre-level 1. Like it looked like the website looked like the first day I went there. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? What happened? What happened to my gravy train here? Come on. And so they didn't really have customer service to speak of, unless it had to do with like bank account billing kind of stuff. And all this stuff they never let you know how things worked, but they did have a message board. So I got on the message board and I was like, I don't understand what happened. I had all these things available. Like, does anybody else have this problem? And everybody else is like, oh no, it's the same for me. I see everything. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, somebody said, well, how long have you been doing it? And I was like, 2 or 3 months. And this person said, your analytics must have come back wrong. And I'm like, what's that mean? They said, well, something about the way you're doing your work is showing them patterns they don't like. Like, do you keep forgetting the person's name? And I'm like, no, I've never forgotten a person's name. And they're just like, well, do you keep forgetting to do receipts? I'm like, no, I always do receipts. Do you always give people like a really good score or a really bad score? And I was like, oh. So they figured out that I'm Mr. 10 out of 10 guy. So I'm wasting their time. So I got demoted. So now I was like picking from scraps. I like had nothing to work with. There was like maybe out of all Dallas-Fort Worth area, I had maybe five of these to choose from instead of 50. You know, I mean, it was always like all these mystery shopping opportunities. And I was like, I guess I don't do this anymore, you know? And one day I had a customer, I did like kind of field service work. So I would go to different clients in different places around Fort Worth. And one day I had a client in Dallas, which never happened. And I had to make this drive way over to Dallas. And I saw that there was a mystery shop available in South Oak Cliff. And I was so desperate for a mystery shop that I took it. And if you know anything about Dallas-Fort Worth, South Oak Cliff's a little rough. It's little rough around the edges as a neighborhood. It's not the worst, but definitely not the best. And yeah, so I went over there. Okay, so I make my way over to South Oak Cliff, and I pull into the parking lot, and it is, I would say, out of South Oak Cliff. This would be rougher part of South Oak Cliff. This was pretty much the hood. And I pull into the parking lot, and I look over the questionnaire, and the questionnaire of things that I was supposed to fill out and what they wanted me to do was very interesting. I'd never seen anything like it. They wanted me to order an extra value meal and then tell them that I didn't want to supersize it. But then as they were ringing up, as they were repeating the order back to me, they wanted me to change my mind and tell them that I did want to supersize it. So I'm like, okay, got it. Then it said to order, I have two choices, Coke or Sprite. Whichever one I want, say that I want something different when I order. But then when I get to the register, say, I'm sorry, can I change that from Sprite to Coke or Coke to Sprite? So I was like, okay, this is going to be awkward and weird. So basically they want me to be an annoying customer. I was like, okay. So I order, and I could already tell that I annoyed this person when I switched it to extra value meal. I mean, they were just like, the attitude was just flowing from the speaker. And I'm like, okay. And then I get up to the register. I get up to the front where it's time to tell them that I actually don't want a Sprite. I want a Coke. And so I actually went a little bit off script and was extra apologetic about it, which they didn't tell me to do that. You know, I was just like, hey, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I actually meant to get a Coke. And this girl was like, you said Sprite. I'm like, yeah, I know, I made a mistake. Well, no, you said you wanted Coke. You said you wanted Sprite. And I'm like, I know, I want a Coke. Well, why'd you say that? And I mean, she was like ready to jump through a window and attack me. And I'm like, and I'm telling her I made the mistake. And I'm just, and at this point, I'm like just begging this person to back down in my head. Like, I am actually going to have to give somebody a 1 out of 10. Like, this girl is actually, she's pushing somebody who doesn't want to be pushed that far to do this. And I'm like, she's really going to do this, isn't she? And she was like, fighting with me, arguing with me, telling me that it's not her fault that the drink order is wrong. And I'm like, I know, I ordered it wrong. And I just was not getting through to her. She was just seeing red. Like, I don't know what kind of day she was having. Maybe she's like this all the time. And actually, I'm leaning towards she probably is like this all the time, because why would they have these questions on there? Why did they send me at this shift? You know, I'm like, okay, they basically want to get this person fired for doing this over and over again. And I'm like, I'm going to have to do this, aren't I? So Mr., I'm going to give everybody a 10 out of 10. I'm like, we got to do it. And I went home. I didn't take any joy in it. But when I got home, I scanned it in. And I softened it up a little. But I basically recounted what happened. And yeah, I felt so gross. It did not feel good. I did not enjoy it. You know, I don't even know what to say about that. That felt really dark. I didn't enjoy it. It was the only time I gave somebody a bad score on anything. It's the only time I gave somebody a not perfect score. But you know what? The day after I did it, I logged in, and I had gone from level 0 to level 3 I was at a higher level than I'd ever been. So apparently this fixed all my analytics, because now that they averaged in this 1 out of 10 with all those 10s out of 10s, it looked like I gave a pretty fair score to people. So suddenly I had a big fish. I had Home Depot available. So Home Depot promised to be interesting. I had never, as an adult, never lived in a house. I had always lived in an apartment. Couple of brief stints in a trailer we won't talk about. But other than that, I'd always lived in apartments. I always had maintenance people. If I needed something fixed, I'd tell somebody. If I wanted to do some kind of home repair, if I wanted to do some kind of decor, I couldn't. I would get in trouble. So Chip and Joanna Gaines, I was not. And so I looked at what was being asked of me for this Home Depot shop, and I didn't understand a word of it, because it was all, you needed to be a home improvement person. So I'm going to pause for a minute and talk about the Peter Principle. I became aware of this at one point, and this is the idea that in an organization, people will rise to the level of their incompetence. So if you start out at the lowest level at a job, you're going to do a good job, and then you're going to get promoted, and you do a good job at that job and you get promoted, and eventually you're going to work your way up to a point where you're too stupid to do that job. I found that point as a mystery shopper, when I tried to do Home Depot, because I was told to go purchase Venetian faux paint finish. I don't even know if that's right. It was Venetian faux paint that I was supposed to purchase, and a roller. And I was told to go back there and talk to somebody and just ask for this. Get their name, buy it, go out in the parking lot, wait 30 minutes, and then come back in and return it. And all I had to do was get through this conversation with somebody at Home Depot. And I didn't know what Venetian faux paint was exactly. I've heard of Venice, and Venetian means Venice, right? And faux means fake, and I know what paint is. So I'm guessing that this is something that's supposed to look Venetian, but it's not. So I walk back, and I've got my order in my head. This is the paint I need. This is the roller I need. And I walk up, and I meet Charlie. And this guy walks up to me. Hey, Charlie. I'm Charlie. What are we building today? And I was like, I just needed to pick up Venetian faux paint and a roller. Oh, okay. You doing water-based or oil poly on the finish? And at this point, the best thing I could have said is, I don't know. I was just sent here to pick this up. But I tried to fake my way through the conversation. And I said, oil poly. And he's like, marble? And I was like, yeah. Oh man, you can't do that. You can't do oil poly and marble. Brother man, you can't do that. That's a terrible idea. And hold on, you're gonna use this roller? And I was like, yeah. And I felt, I can't believe how much this bothered me. Like I felt like I was completely in over my head. And I was like, yeah, I was just gonna use this roller. Oh man, you're gonna have to break this up with a sea sponge, or ain't gonna read right. And I was like, yeah, well, and he's like, I'll tell you what you need. You actually don't want this Venetian faux. You're gonna want this one over here. Now, I had an exact part number I'm supposed to get, and I've got it in my hand. And he reaches down to grab the bucket out of my hand to get me the one that I should get. And I hold on to it and won't let go, and looked at him like kind of aggressively. And I was like, no, I'll take this one. And he's like, man, I don't want you to get something that's going to mess up whatever you're painting. It's going to be a damned mess. You can't do this, man. And trust me, I really want the best for you. Just don't do it. This is going to be a disaster. I'm telling you right now. And I was like, that's okay. I'll just take this one. And he's like, all right, okay. All right, well, I don't know what to tell you. And so this was a very awkward encounter. I also recognized in my mind if I was a person who was actually buying this, everything that he just did is awesome. Like he was willing to fight me to make sure I didn't do something stupid. So I actually had nothing negative to say about this encounter, even though it was a horribly negative encounter for me. So I go out to the parking lot, wait 30 minutes, and come back in, and I get in line, and of all things, he walks up towards the front of the store, and he sees me returning it, and he gives me kind of a weird look, and he seemed to realize I was a mystery shopper, because I guess the cadence of coming back in 30 minutes later, and he was like, oh, he kind of had this look on his face, and I just kind of gave him a little, like that, and he looked pretty panicked. Like, I think he thought he had been too aggressive with me, but I wholeheartedly gave him 10 out of 10 and all of that. So I don't know what else you could possibly want a Home Depot person to do than to be that committed, So anyway, I thought that was great. So Home Depot paid a flat fee of like $30 for maybe 45 minutes of my time, which was probably more money than I was making at my job. But I never went back for another mystery shop at Home Depot. I knew I was in above my head in that world. And to this day, even as a homeowner who's had a house for a few years and who has tried to do a few things, I still feel lost in Home Depot. But I definitely was very impressed with Charlie. I figure that Charlie probably runs that Home Depot in Euless, Texas today, or went off and started his own business, or maybe he's a building contractor or something. But yeah, I don't really remember how my mystery shopping ended. I think it kind of fizzled. I do know as many times as I did it and as many people were on that website grabbing those things, mystery shoppers are among us. They're out there. If you see them, if you suspect them, just leave them alone. They're just doing their thing. Bye.